So, Uconn played against Notre Dame today, and as most people, realistically, I think a lot of people that have been watching these teams thought this was Notre Dame's for the taking. This is a team that's good, and they play better against good opponents, to be honest, when it comes to Notre Dame. Yeah, they lost to TCU. Yeah, they lost to... Who did they lose to in the other game? I actually can't even remember. But Notre Dame went and beat Uconn. And Paige Bueckers had a good game, but I'm just still so concerned about her, about just her pure lack of aggression. But anyway, if you guys are new to the channel, subscribe. We're trying to hit 40,000 subscribers. That would be an absolutely insane milestone to hit, like, considering the fact we only started this channel not too long ago. 40,000 subscribers would be an incredible milestone to hit. Either way, though, let's talk about this. So Paige Bueckers in the game. I'm going to talk about Hannah Hidalgo, who is clearly the best player on the floor. Even though if you want to go box score watching, you can say, oh, she shot a worse percentage and she had less points, and she shot a worse percentage than Paige. And I don't know, some people like to think the 2s and 3s are the same. Or like, oh, look at field goal percentage. But no, Hidalgo was 100 times better today. Near triple-double. But Paige Bueckers today, she played 37 minutes. She did shoot the ball 20 times. She had 25 points. She did get a couple of fouls, by the way, so I'm not going to go and say she didn't get kind of screwed with the fouls. But, like, she had 3 turnovers to 2 assists. For a person who's, like, notorious for, bigger assist-to-turnover ratio. And the reason why she didn't have that many assists, she barely touched the ball. Paige Bueckers barely touched the ball today. Paige Bueckers had the better of Sonia Citron every single time. And I'm going to make another video on this probably tomorrow, but like I blame Gino Auriemma. Paige Bueckers Paige Buckets is gone. And we currently now have Bueckers. I'm not even going to use the name Paige because Paige implies the that the player from 2021 is still there. Like, Paige implies that the high school #1 recruit, who, regardless of what people say, in high school, was better than Caitlin Clark. Like, Paige Bueckers had everything when it came to high school. Like, you couldn't look for a player, like, you couldn't see a player that could do more than Paige. Like, she had flair. She had the ability to go to the basket. She could, like, if you're just looking kind of her at high school, like, she would be doing some crazy stuff. She was aggressive. And that's the big thing. She'd be aggressive attacking the basket. She played the 1. She kind of played the 2. She had a handle. She could pull left, pull right. She has all of that now. She just chooses to be as passive as humanly possible on the court. And I don't think it's injury-wise. I think it's an obsession with efficiency that obviously has been coached into her, or at least hasn't been coached out of her. Like, she genuinely had no flaws in her game coming into college. Like, you had a Paige Bueckers who was, if you were looking at her in high school, and again, this is the player that ended up being the National Player of the Year a few months after this. So it's not like, this is in May 2020. Like, a year after this, she was National Player of the Year. So you're acting like, so you can't even say, like, Paige Bueckers was doing this type of stuff in high school. And, like, I get it, high school is high school. But she was doing this type of stuff as a freshman, too. Driving in no-look passes. Like, crossing people up. Going ISO. Doing stuff that is fun to watch. And we've now seen this efficiency monster who is scared to do anything late in games. Paige Bueckers could have taken over this game. This was a 1-point game right before the start of the 4th quarter. And what happens? Their superstar steps up. Hannah Hidalgo steps up and hit a shot. And I mean this. Paige Bueckers was the best player on the floor for Uconn. Sarah Strong was pretty good too. The rest of the team was poor. And I mean that. There's a difference. I've never seen a consensus #1 overall pick have a huge issue with aggression. And it's becoming a problem. Down the stretch, this was like an 8-point game. Even 8-point game. This game could have been close in the fourth quarter. And yeah, I get it. I don't know how many points Paige Bueckers. I think she might have had 11 points or something in the fourth quarter. She wasn't even looking for the ball. It was a 6-point game down the stretch. And Paige had just cooked Sonia Citron in the previous possession. And she's not even looking for it. She stands in the corner for a whole possession. It's an 8-point game. She goes and runs a pick and pop with Sarah Strong. And she has a lane to the basket. She has something to go for herself. She gives it to Sarah Strong. Through the last 3 or 4 minutes of this game, she scored a lot of points, but they were a lot off the free throw line. Because they were just trying to make sure that they couldn't get back in the game. Like, this became a fouling game with 90 seconds to go. And that's where the issue is. Is like, I'm watching this, and she's just so passive. She is just so passive. And it's not an ability issue, by the way. Absolutely not an ability issue. As far as ability is concerned, Paige Bueckers has as much, if not more, ability than any guard there's ever been in college basketball. But Uconn was not the right place for her. I'm going to talk about that in another video. Like, if you are a guard, and you are a guard that has flair, and wants to be a guard that people, like, long-term will care about, Paige Bueckers is going to be a good third option. She'll be the third option behind Satu and Enrique, but she's not going to tap on anyone's toes. She's not going to be the one to ever take the last shot. She's never going to be the best player on her team at the WNBA, because you better believe she's not even going to attempt. If she gets blitzed off a screen, there's not going to be okay, how can I get mine? How can I free people up? If she's getting blitzed and denied, she's going to stand in that corner. She's going to stand in the corner and do nothing. And she'll be happy to do that. She'll be happy to let her team go 4-on-4. And I understand, yeah. Like, you want your players to play efficiently. Like, it is what it is. Players and coaches will always want their players to play the game efficiently. But I mean this when I say this. If you want to be one of these top talents, you got to be willing to miss the shot. Notice how I said miss, because that's the truth of it all. That is the reality of it all. If you want to be one of the top talents in the world, you have to be willing to miss the shot. And Paige Bueckers is not willing to miss the shot. And if you're not willing to miss the shot, you will never make the shot. And it's just unfortunate. It is unfortunate, because Paige is going to have a really, really good WNBA career. And I think a lot of people cash checks that Paige Bueckers is not going to be, or wrote checks that Paige isn't going to be able to cash. Paige Bueckers is going to be a good WNBA player, but she's going to just be another WNBA player. And previously, when the WNBA had 12 teams, you were going to be able to, like, you could stack talent on 1 to 2 teams. You could be a fourth option and still be a star. You could go to Uconn, go from being the best guard in high school history to just another role player. Or, sorry, just a really good system player. And then you go to the W and you will go to a system. It's not going to happen. There's going to be expansion in the league. There's going to be 16 teams in the league. And the talent is going to be more spread out. It's not going to be a case where Minnesota can have Simone Augustus, Sylvia Fowles, Maya Moore, and Lindsay Whalen all on the same team. Like, that's not going to happen. With the way their salary cap is going to be, you're not going to be able to have 4 max players in the same team. Paige Bueckers, maybe in another era, could have gone in and done almost like what Maya Moore did. But now, if you are a guard, you're going to be expected to lead a team, not just be there. And especially in Dallas with Enrique is not going to hesitate in chucking. Enrique is not going to defer to Paige, ever. And if Paige is willing to be passive, I could see Paige averaging single digits next year. And she has the ability to be all WNBA as a rookie. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. Her biggest issue is her mentality. Her mentality that she doesn't have that dog in her at all, for lack of a better way of describing it. as well as that, she's like, she doesn't have the dog on her. And you're never going to break into the top couple of players in the world if you don't. And maybe she looks into a situation. But I don't know. I don't see, like, I'd be a lot higher on a Hannah Hidalgo. I'd be a lot higher on a Juju Watkins. I'd be a lot higher on a Malaysia Full Wiley, especially if Full Wiley gets out of Dawn Staley's system. And it really does show, because Paige had the killer instinct as a freshman. The longer she has spent with Gina Auriemma, and by the way, even as like a sophomore, she wasn't quite as good as she was a freshman. I know she picked up a bit of an injury. And last year, there wasn't that much dog in Paige Bueckers last year. We saw it against Iowa. And we're now seeing her not even having an inability to take over a game. She's all the ability in the world to do it. She's making the choice not to do it. Paige Bueckers is choosing efficiency over trying to take over a game. And I'm sorry, you've got it in one-off games. Over the course of a season, be as efficient as you want. But in a one-off game, especially there's only a couple of games in college basketball that matter. In women's college basketball anyway, because you're going to blitz everybody else by 40. This was one of the ones that mattered. And even though she had a 25-point game on the box score, it looked good. When it really mattered down the stretch, she was happy to defer to a 19-year-old.